There's a certain kind of moment that we've all been caught in. You're sitting on a train, maybe standing in line at a coffee shop, and suddenly the person next to you is on the phone broadcasting their entire life for everyone within earshot. You didn't ask to know about their breakup, their boss problems, or their weekend plans, but here you are, forced into it. That's the thing about oversharing in public. Most people don't realize how much it pulls everyone else into a situation they never wanted to be part of. It's not about being unfriendly, it's about understanding that public space is shared space, and there's an unspoken respect that goes along with that. When we overshare private matters loudly in public, what we're really doing is removing the choice for everyone else. Imagine you're sitting quietly, reading or scrolling through your phone, and suddenly the details of someone's family drama are being poured into your ears. You can't unhear it. You can't step away easily. And in that moment, your peace has been hijacked by someone who chose not to manage their volume or their boundaries. That's why people remember those moments with irritation. Not because they dislike you as a person, but because you forced them into a role they didn't ask for. The truth is, we all need to vent sometimes. Maybe you're going through something heavy and you just need to talk, but there's a difference between having that conversation in private, on a walk, at home, or in your car, and putting it on speakerphone in the middle of a restaurant. What feels like relief for one person quickly turns into discomfort for everyone else. And here's the kicker. People don't separate the conversation from the person. If they see you oversharing private things loudly, they assume you lack awareness. That judgment might not be fair, but it's how people naturally process social cues. Think about the impression you want to leave. If your goal is to be seen as respectful, confident, or even just put together, oversharing works against all of that. Confidence isn't about showing people everything on your mind. Confidence is knowing what to share, when to share it, and who deserves to hear it. By managing your conversations in public, you're signaling that you understand the environment around you and that you're not willing to make other people uncomfortable just because you need to be heard. That kind of restraint is far more powerful than any long, loud phone call could ever be. Another part of oversharing in public is that it often comes with tone. When someone's speaking loudly, maybe even emotionally, it can feel like tension is filling the room. People start looking down, avoiding eye contact, shifting in their seats because they don't want to get caught in the ripple effect. And you've seen it. You can feel the energy shift in a space when one person turns their private stress into everyone else's problem. It's not just about what you say, it's about the way your presence changes the atmosphere around you. There's also the question of trust. When people hear you laying out your personal details in a public space, they wonder what you might say about them in a similar situation. Oversharing loudly signals a lack of filter, and when people see that, they tend to keep their distance emotionally and socially. It's hard to build strong, professional, or even casual relationships if your reputation is tied to letting every detail spill out at full volume in front of strangers. People don't need to know everything about you, and the strongest people are often the ones who hold back the most. So the next time you feel tempted to raise your voice on a call or dive into personal stories in a public place, pause and remember this. Public respect builds private credibility. Every little choice you make about how you speak in public either builds or breaks the impression people have of you. You can still be authentic, still be real, and still get what you need out of a conversation without dragging an entire room of strangers into it. Personal space is one of those invisible boundaries that we all carry with us. You can't see it, but you can definitely feel it when someone crosses it. Standing too close in a line, leaning over your shoulder when you're reading something, or crowding into a tight elevator without giving breathing room, it all sends the same message. I'm not paying attention to your comfort. Most people won't say anything out loud, but they'll instantly take a mental step back, and that impression is hard to erase once it's made. Think about how uncomfortable it feels when someone stands just a few inches too close. You don't even need to look at them to notice it. Your body picks it up before your brain does. You tense up, your shoulders shift, you lean away if you can. That physical reaction tells you everything you need to know about the importance of personal space. It's not just a cultural thing, it's a human thing. People need that buffer zone to feel safe and respected, and when you invade it, it feels like you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. Respecting personal space in public is about awareness. When you're in a crowded setting like a bus, train, or elevator, you might not have much room, but that doesn't mean you abandon the idea altogether. Awareness shows up in the way you angle your body, the way you adjust to give even a little bit of room, or the way you wait instead of forcing yourself into someone's bubble. Small adjustments make a big difference in showing that you value the people around you, even when circumstances make it hard to physically spread out. The way you manage personal space also affects how people view your confidence. People often confuse being close with being dominant. But real confidence doesn't need to push itself onto someone else's boundaries. Real confidence is calm, steady, and considerate. When you stand at a respectful distance, it shows that you're comfortable with yourself, that you don't need to impose to make your presence known. That kind of confidence is magnetic because it makes other people feel at ease, and when people feel at ease around you, they naturally gravitate toward you. There's another layer to this. Personal space doesn't just apply to physical distance, it applies to emotional distance too. Oversharing, interrupting, or forcing personal stories into casual interactions can be just as invasive as standing too close in a line. Both situations ignore the silent boundary that people keep up to protect themselves. When you respect those boundaries, both physical and emotional, you're telling others that you understand where they're coming from, and you're willing to meet them at a pace that feels right to them. Invading personal space in public also communicates something you might not intend: desperation. When someone leans in too much, gets too close, or pushes into a circle that wasn't open for them, it looks like they're trying too hard to be accepted or noticed. That's the opposite of what most people want to project. By maintaining healthy space, you're saying without words, I trust myself enough to not force my presence. That silent message builds trust faster than any introduction or conversation starter ever could. So when you step into public settings, whether it's waiting at a counter, riding an elevator, or even greeting someone you just met, take half a second to measure the space you're giving. If you wouldn't want a stranger standing that close to you, chances are they don't want it either. Respecting personal space is one of the simplest ways to show respect for others, and it's also one of the fastest ways to set yourself apart in a world where so many people forget how important that invisible boundary really is. Losing your temper in public is one of those things that always leaves a bigger impact than you realize. You might feel justified in the moment. Someone cut you off, the service was slow, a stranger said something rude. But the outburst is what people remember, not the situation that caused it. It only takes a few seconds of raised voices, harsh words, or angry body language to shift the way everyone around you views you. Instead of seeing your frustration as valid, they see the loss of control, and that impression sticks far longer than the moment itself. Anger in public doesn't just affect the person it's aimed at, it affects everyone who happens to witness it. A loud argument in a store, a shouting match in traffic, even a slammed door in a crowded space, it changes the energy for every single person nearby. People immediately go into defense mode, looking for exits, avoiding eye contact, or pretending to be busy on their phones just to distance themselves from the tension. The truth is, nobody wants to be around a scene like that, and the person who loses their temper becomes the reason everyone else feels uncomfortable. What makes public outbursts so damaging is that they chip away at credibility. Think about leaders, co-workers, or even friends. When they can stay calm under pressure, they earn trust. When they explode at small inconveniences, that trust disappears. People might start questioning, if they react like this here, how do they handle things I can't see? It's not about the size of the problem, it's about the signal the reaction sends. Staying calm in public isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about recognizing that your reaction is shaping your reputation in real time. There's also a personal cost to losing your temper where others can see it. In the moment, anger feels powerful, but afterward, it often feels embarrassing. You replay what happened in your head, thinking of the faces that turned toward you, the silence that followed, and the way people stepped back. That's the thing about public anger. It doesn't just live in the moment, it lingers in memory, both yours and everyone else's. And the memory of that outburst will outlast whatever temporary satisfaction came from letting it out. Managing your temper in public doesn't mean ignoring frustration or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing a response that reflects self-control rather than impulse. Taking a breath, stepping outside, lowering your voice, these aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of strength. The people who can stay grounded when things don't go their way are the people others naturally respect. It shows that emotions are being managed, not avoided, and that calmness is more important than proving a point in the heat of the moment. Another reason to keep your cool in public is that you never know who's watching. It could be a future employer, a neighbor, or someone who might play a role in your life later. One angry outburst can overshadow months or even years of good behavior in their minds. People are wired to remember moments of high emotion, and anger is one of the strongest. When you stay calm instead, you give them nothing negative to hold on to, and that silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. The bottom line is this: frustration is normal, but public explosions are costly. Every time you're tested in public, you're also given a chance to show composure, patience, and restraint. Those moments define how people see you, far more than the small inconvenience that caused the frustration in the first place. Losing your temper might feel like release, but keeping it under control feels like power, and that kind of power builds trust, credibility, and respect in ways an outburst never can. Basic manners might sound simple, but they carry more weight in public than most people realize. Saying please and thank you, holding a door, letting someone go first when their hands are full. These small gestures create a ripple effect that people don't forget. When you neglect them, it's not just that you missed a polite phrase or a small action, it's that people interpret it as a lack of respect. Public spaces are shared, and every small courtesy we show makes that shared space easier for everyone to move through without friction or tension. Think about the last time someone held a door open for you or gave you their seat when you needed it. It was such a small act, but chances are you remembered it. Now flip that. Think about when someone cut in line, didn't acknowledge a cashier, or ignored someone trying to pass by. Those moments stick too, but for the wrong reason. That's the difference manners make in public. They either leave a positive mark that lingers or a negative one that colors how people see you from that moment forward. Public manners also communicate awareness. When you make room for others, say thank you to service workers, or step aside to let someone pass, you're showing that you notice the people around you. Ignoring basic manners in public sends the opposite message. I'm only focused on myself. Nobody likes feeling invisible, and when people see you disregard those small acts, it makes them less likely to want to engage with you or even trust you. Awareness is a form of respect, and respect is the currency of social credibility. Another thing about basic manners is that they're contagious. One person being polite in a public space can shift the whole tone. If you hold the elevator, someone else is more likely to do the same for the next person. If you smile at a stranger and greet them kindly, you've opened the door for a more positive exchange. On the flip side, when someone ignores manners, it often spreads irritation instead. One person's rudeness in a public setting can sour the mood for everyone in the room, and it's rarely forgotten quickly. The way you use manners in public also reflects on how people believe you'll behave in private. If you're dismissive to a waiter, short with a cashier, or rude in traffic, people assume that's who you are when no one else is watching. And if you're kind, thoughtful, and respectful in those same settings, the assumption flips. People assume you carry that same attitude into your personal life. That's why those little courtesies matter so much. They're not just about the moment, they're about the story they tell about you long after the moment passes. Neglecting manners in public can also close doors you didn't even know were open. Maybe the person you ignored in line is a potential business contact. Maybe the stranger you brushed past knows someone who could help you down the road. Life is full of those unseen connections, and how you treat people in public has a way of circling back. Basic manners don't cost you time or effort, but they can create opportunities and impressions that shape how others respond to you in ways you might never expect. At the end of the day, public manners aren't about being perfect or overly formal. They're about being intentional. They're small acts that say, I see you, I respect you, and I want to make this shared space better, not worse. Ignoring them sends the opposite message, and once that impression is made, it's hard to undo. The simplest way to stand out in public isn't through flashy behavior or loud statements. It's through consistent, quiet respect shown in the way you handle the little things every single day. The way you present yourself in public is the very first message you send to people before you even speak. Hygiene and appearance aren't about vanity, they're about respect. Respect for yourself and for the people who share space with you. When you walk into a room, the impression you leave often has more to do with how you look and carry yourself than what you say. If your hygiene is neglected, people notice, even if they don't comment, and it quietly shapes how much they want to engage with you. Think about the situations where presentation makes the biggest difference. A strong handshake paired with clean nails, fresh breath, and neat clothes tells a completely different story than a weak handshake paired with unwashed clothes and poor grooming. People might never say anything, but they draw conclusions instantly. They may decide if you're professional, approachable, or trustworthy before you've said a single word. That's the power of presentation. It shapes perception faster than you can explain yourself. Neglecting hygiene in public also has an impact on comfort. Body odor, dirty hands, or an unkempt appearance doesn't just affect you, it affects the people around you. Public spaces are shared, and nobody wants to feel forced into discomfort because someone else chose not to take care of themselves. It's not about being perfect or polished all the time. It's about making sure that the way you show up doesn't create unnecessary tension or distraction for the people around you. Presentation also extends to body language. Clean clothes and good hygiene can be undercut quickly if you're slouched over, avoiding eye contact, or moving in ways that signal insecurity. On the other hand, standing tall, carrying yourself with confidence, and presenting a calm, collected demeanor tells others you value yourself and, in turn, value them. Appearance isn't just about what you wear, it's about how you wear yourself. And both of those choices speak louder than most people realize. When you maintain good hygiene and a presentable appearance, you're not just influencing how strangers perceive you, you're also influencing how you feel about yourself. There's a noticeable difference in your own confidence when you know you've taken the time to look and feel your best. That confidence shows up in the way you talk, the way you walk, and the way you interact with people. Neglecting those areas does the opposite. It chips away at confidence, leaving you less sure of yourself in moments that matter most. Another part of presentation in public is consistency. Anyone can look put together once for a big event, but the real impression comes from how you consistently show up every day. If you're the person who always seems prepared, clean, and aware of how you're presenting yourself, people start to trust that you carry that same consistency into other parts of your life. That's why hygiene and appearance aren't just surface-level details. They're reflections of deeper habits and values that people naturally pick up on. At its core, the way you manage hygiene and presentation is a form of silent communication. You're telling people whether you respect the space you share with them, whether you respect yourself enough to put in the effort, and whether they can take you seriously before you ever open your mouth. Neglecting it tells a different story, one that can close doors and limit opportunities without you ever knowing why. Paying attention to it builds a foundation of credibility that makes everything else you do in public stand on stronger ground.